The stock market blasted up yet again, and we have some big things to talk about for this week. So, some news came out that Michael Burry, the guy who basically timed the market in 2008 and predicted the housing crash, has now sold all of his stocks except for one private prison company. Of course, we're going to talk about that news. There's also some news with Walmart Plus having a deal with Paramount Plus, which is pretty interesting. And then on top of that, we have some news with Unity, earnings, and then just some other important things to know for this week. But we have a pretty interesting video today, and you're definitely going to want to stick around to the end. But Tom, looking at the market today, a lot of stocks continued higher, but it looks like things are starting to slow down just a tiny bit.
Yeah, they are. Like you said, though, stocks did pretty well across the board. A lot of tech stocks were up today. I saw Nvidia closed up 1.73%, which was great. We saw Apple, Microsoft, and a lot of tech stocks close up in the green, although it wasn't necessarily as green as a lot of people hoped. I will say Tesla did very well today, though. They were actually up 3%. I know we talked about the Inflation Reduction Act being passed yesterday, and that actually helped a lot of clean energy stocks early on in the morning. But like you said, Mike, a lot of them did start to slow down. It was kind of interesting today, though. Crude oil fell off in a big way, but nonetheless, the SPY really picked up there. We continued up, Mike, and I will say we actually gapped down to start the day. So to see the SPY recover up as much as it did, it kind of blew my mind. In the middle of the trading day, we did have a lot of big stocks go up, though, like Snapchat, for example, closed up over 5%. Then we saw Zoom and a few other growth stocks also follow along. And of course, Mike, today, we cannot forget about some of these big retailers like Costco, Walmart, stocks like that also exploded. And some of those stocks have some pretty big earnings coming up here later in the week, too.
Yeah, looking at the earnings schedule for the week, tell us more.
Yeah, so Walmart's going to be reporting tomorrow before open, guys. Like I said, Walmart did very well today, especially around open. They ended up closing today up quite a bit. Honestly, on the day, though, nothing too crazy, 0.29%, but they did hit that big resistance up there around 133.50. And then we're also going to have Home Depot and C Limited reporting tomorrow as well. I know SE has been a pretty hyped up stock over the past couple of years, and they ended up closing up 1.42% today, doing pretty well. But as far as the rest of the week, Mike, mainly just Target, Lowe's, and Cisco there to end the week. We do have Kohl's kind of towards the end there, and then John Deere and Foot Locker as well. But the main ones I'm looking at are going to be Walmart tomorrow. That is going to be very important to show us how consumers are spending right now. And even Home Depot will be pretty big as far as like people spending for the housing market and stuff like that.
Right, good stuff there. So feel free to screenshot this calendar or schedule for the rest of the week for later reference. But Tom, talking a little bit more about Walmart. I feel like I was not the only one to be a little bit surprised to hear that they had a deal with Paramount Plus of all companies and services. It's kind of a strange deal when you look at the headlines, but it actually makes more sense when you read further into it. So tell us more.
Yeah, so like you said, it makes a lot more sense when you start reading into this. So they're going to be partnering with Paramount here to offer Paramount Plus's streaming services, which they have a lot of shows on there, like it says here in the article: Star Trek, The Godfather, SpongeBob SquarePants. I know I personally watch Bar Rescue on there a lot. So yeah, they have a lot of different shows. But the cool thing about Paramount Plus, Mike, is that this is going to kind of make Walmart Plus a competitor to Amazon Prime. As we know, Amazon has a bunch of different aspects to their Prime service, and Walmart is actually starting to offer a bunch of stuff with their service as well. You'll get member prices on fuel just like Sam's Club's members do. You'll get free delivery on groceries from the stores, kind of like Amazon Prime shipping. No order minimum on shipping as well. You can scan and go in the store. So Walmart's doing a lot of stuff here to try to compete with Amazon Prime, Mike, and this Paramount Plus deal actually sounds pretty good. Honestly, it's going to be good for me. I might not even pay for Paramount anymore. I'll just let my Walmart Plus membership pay for it.
There we go. So yeah, basically, if you sign up for Walmart Plus, it looks like Paramount Plus will be included. So it should be a pretty nice win for both companies out there. Paramount Plus is PARA. The stock is up by 1.5% today, but overall, it's still relatively low, especially when you zoom out on the chart. It has potential. I know these streaming I guess you could say streaming stocks like PARA and then WBD have been beaten down significantly over the past couple years. And honestly, both of these companies are not at bad levels. So keep it in mind.
Yeah, definitely keep them on the radar, guys. They're at really low levels right now. And honestly, like Warner Bros. Mike is all the way down there around the almost the very bottom right now. Paramount was getting close a couple weeks ago, but yeah, it's been crazy. Hopefully, this really helps Paramount on their recovery back up. I think it might help them out a little bit. I will say, I don't think it's anything overly groundbreaking though for Paramount because it doesn't really sound like that they're going to end up profiting too much, but hopefully we can see some more like inner workings of the deal come out over the next couple of days. Walmart, though, Mike, even they have a long way to go on that daily chart. Look at this gap here between 138 and then a high of like 146 here. I wonder if earnings tomorrow might make us finally get that big push up and we might fill that gap up. I know a lot of people have been talking about these Walmart earnings coming out this week, and I will say I'm definitely hoping they're bullish, Mike, but it's been crazy over the past few months. Look at Walmart's last earnings report. You can see this is actually what kind of caused that big initial gap down. So hopefully we see earnings come out better than the last time. That's for sure.
True that. All right, Tom, now for the news that everyone wants to hear about. Michael Burry sold all of his stocks except for one. Tell us more.
Yeah, he sold almost all of his stocks here today. You can see it. They exited a lot of positions at Scion Asset Management. That's pretty much the fund that Michael Burry currently manages or works at, but they exited key positions, including Alphabet, Facebook, or Meta, and a lot of other stocks that they were holding. And they added a private prison operator, Geo Group, which is very interesting. It's ticker symbol GEO. Looking at that stock on the daily, Mike, it honestly looks pretty good. I mean, it's all the way down here around lows over the past like 5 years or so. It's starting to just now go back on the uptrend. It honestly doesn't seem like a bad investment down here at the bottom. Obviously, I'm not too familiar with GEO, obviously not as much as Burry is, but this is just insane to see them selling out of all those positions, Mike. Like it says here, Scion held as much as $165 million of U.S. stocks at the end of the first quarter. So to see them sell out of most of that is pretty big.
Yeah, it is weird, because he sells out of all of his stocks except for a private prison investment company, which is GEO. So it's definitely an unusual move. Like you said, GEO's at a pretty low level, but I wonder what he's like really seeing in GEO to make that his only holding out of all of the other stocks in the market,
Yeah, exactly. It's a very strange stock to pick. I don't know if he's trying to think that maybe something will go on where they'll try to tackle crime a little bit more, or who knows, but it's kind of crazy to see him going after these stocks. What I will say though, Mike, is we do have to take this with a little bit of a grain of salt because it does say that this was according or as of June 30th, because as we know, these regulatory filings always come out a couple months later. So keep that in mind too, but it is very interesting to see. I'm wondering though if he's been picking up anything else as of recent, obviously with stocks being so low, but obviously we won't know that now for another month now, of course.
Alrighty. And then Tom, tell us more about the Unity deal and then the schedule for the week.
Yeah, so Unity actually rejected AppLovin's takeover bid. So we talked about this a little bit last week where AppLovin made an offer to kind of take over Unity. So Unity actually rejected this and they're going to go ahead with their ironSource buyout. So sounds pretty big here. As it says here, AppLovin and ironSource are competitors. It says that ironSource is a Tel Aviv stock, which is pretty much based in Israel for anybody who doesn't know that. But Unity makes a lot of games like Call of Duty Mobile, Pokemon Go, and even my favorite game, Escape from Tarkov. They use that software to kind of make the graphics and stuff on there. So really cool stuff. I know Unity is a big company. Hopefully this helps Unity out, Mike. I will say though, you looking at Unity's chart here, it's pretty overbought in the short term, especially looking at it on the daily chart. And then going into on an intraday chart, this news actually sent their stock down today. So hopefully this doesn't make them go back on a slight downtrend, but I wouldn't be surprised if it did here.
Alrighty, and then the schedule for the week.
Yeah, so like you said, we do have some pretty big economic data still coming out here. The big thing tomorrow morning, we're going to have building permits and housing starts. That'll kind of give us a small insight into the housing market. I don't think it'll be anything overly crazy, but obviously it is still important that these numbers come in at least somewhere around the forecast. But even bigger, Mike, Wednesday, we're going to have retail sales in the morning and then the FOMC minutes right there at 2 p.m. Eastern time. So keep that on the radar. The FOMC minutes is going to be the biggest thing, of course, and that's going to give us a pretty big insight into what the Feds were thinking during that last FOMC meeting.
Alrighty. Well, with that being said, Tom, let's get right into the momentum plays for tomorrow. With the first one, we have SWBI to the upside.
Yeah, Smith and Wesson had a really good day today. Go ahead and make them break out above 15.15, which is just above the high of day.
All right, with the next one, we have BABA also to the upside.
Yeah, BABA recovered up quite well. I actually saw there was some negative Chinese news this morning, but go ahead and make BABA break out above 94.65.
All right, and then with the last one, we have Apple, but we need both levels on it.
Yeah, Apple kind of had almost a double top up here. Go ahead and make them break above 173.50 to the upside, and to the downside, make them break below 172.75.
All right, sounds good. So you guys heard the levels for Apple, and then for Alibaba and Smith and Wesson, we are watching these potential plays for day trades tomorrow, only if they break above the levels Tom listed. But before we move on, Tom, I want to give a giant shout out to today's member of the day, which is Huggy Bear in the Stocked Up Discord chat. You've been in the chat for over 2 years now, and you've been a lot more active over the past couple weeks. So you definitely deserve a shout out. Thank you so much for all of your activity and support. Tom and I appreciate you. But Tom, looking at the market right now, I feel like we're stuck at a point where it's like the stock market is overbought, but there's nothing stopping it from becoming more overbought. You know, it's like you can't just like fully bet against the market right now when it has this much momentum, but there is no doubt in my mind that the stock market is overbought in the short term. That does not mean it's going to magically come, you know, it doesn't mean it's magically going to normalize later in the week, but it does mean to proceed with caution, especially with short-term trades over this week.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be a tough one. You know, we just keep flying up and breaking through resistance after resistance. And talking about big resistances, we actually are hitting one right now on my chart here, right around 430 on the SPY. I've had a resistance here posted for a little while now. The main hits on 430 in the past that I saw were back on April 28th and then back on like May 4th or 5th there, where we kind of went up and touched 430 on the SPY. But looking at it on the 5-minute, we got really close to that upper resistance level today. I'm curious to see if we'll be able to break that back to the upside again tomorrow. You know, it just seems like day after day, like you said, we just keep breaking out. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen. And we just keep seeing these big tech stocks like Apple, Microsoft, and stocks like that continue to show their strength. And looking at Apple on the daily chart, Mike, we're almost back up to new highs on the daily chart. I can't believe I'm even saying this. It looks like a straight up V-shaped pattern, almost like what we saw with COVID, which is interesting.
Very true. Yeah, it's been a wild past 2 months, especially with these big tech companies. So I guess we'll see what happens later in the week, especially with the FOMC report. Besides that, if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. We post brand new videos every single day, and let's have a great end to the week.